والسادة الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. باسمي وباسم أعضاء مجلس إدارة الجمعية الاقتصادية الكويتية، أرحب بكم في ندوة اليوم ضمن موسم الجمعية الثقافي للعام 2016 تحت عنوان الاستراتيجيات الفاعلة لمشاريع المترو وسكك الحديد. ويأتي تنظيم هذه الندوة بما ينسجم مع أهداف الجمعية بممارسة دورها الفعال، خصوصا في ظل المتغيرات الاقتصادية السريعة من حولنا وما تشكله من تحديات حقيقية على الكويت ودول المنطقة. إن مشاريع البنية التحتية تعتبر إحدى المحركات الأساسية للتنويع الاقتصادي والتنمية، كما تشكل مشاريع النقل عنصرا مهما من عناصر البنية التحتية نظرا للأهمية الاستراتيجية المرتبطة بها. ولعل مشروعي سكك الحديد والمترو سيلعبان دورا مهما في الكويت المستقبل إذا تم تنفيذ هذه المشاريع على أسس سليمة، حيث تكمن أهمية مشروع سكك الحديد بربط دول مجلس التعاون كافة بموانئ دولة الكويت في مجال النقل البشري واللوجستي، كما سيساهم مشروع المترو في تطوير قطاع النقل الداخلي للركاب، مما يترتب عليه مميزات كثيرة وتجاوز للعديد من التحديات الاقتصادية والاجتماعية والبيئية. ومن المرجح أن يتم تنفيذ هذه المشاريع الحيوية عن طريق نظام الشراكة بين القطاعين العام والخاص PPP. ونظرا لأهميتها على الاقتصاد الوطني ومستقبل الكويت، فإنه من واجبنا في الجمعية الاقتصادية الكويتية كمؤسسة من مؤسسات المجتمع المدني أن نمارس دورنا المهني في تسليط الضوء على مشاريع النقل وإيجابياته المرتبطة بتنويع القاعدة الاقتصادية في الكويت ومخاطرها المحتملة على مالية الدولة، خصوصا في ظل انخفاض أسعار النفط وتأثيرها المباشر على الإيراد العام. كما يطيب لنا أن نرحب بالسادة الضيوف المتحدثين من كبار المستشارين العالميين وذوي الخبرة في ندوة اليوم، والتي نسعى من خلالها للإجابة عن العديد من التساؤلات المطروحة والاستفادة من تجارب الدول الإقليمية والعالمية في مجالات النقل البشري واللوجستي. وهم السيد ستيف لانكستر من المستشار العالمي بارسون، السيد جون توماس من اتحاد ريت، الأخت ندوة وسكك من الأمانة العامة لمجلس التعاون، السيد ستيفن وود من المستشار الفرنسي راتب، السيد كوني كروفورد من المستشار العالمي لويس بيرغ. وستكون أبرز محاور ندوة اليوم مقدمة عن مشاريع المترو وسكك الحديد، أهمية تطوير استراتيجية عامة للنقل، المردود الاقتصادي لمشاريع النقل، التنظيم والتخطيط لقطاع النقل، أهمية التشريعات واللوائح التنظيمية لأنظمة المترو وسكك الحديد في دول العالم، مخاطر نظام المشاركة مع القطاع الخاص في تنفيذ مشاريع النقل، توطين صناعة النقل وخلق فرص عمل للمواطنين، مساهمة القطاع الخاص في تطوير صناعة النقل، نبذة عن اتحاد ريل وتنظيم قطاع السكك في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، نبذة عن مشاريع سكك الحديد والمترو في دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي، نبذة عن هيئة سكك الحديد الخليجية. وختاما، أن حجم وأهمية مشاريع النقل تتطلب تضافر الجهود، حيث أن الكويت ملتزمة بجدول زمني مع أشقائها في دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي لتنفيذ مشروع سكك الحديد، كما أن التأخير في مشروع المترو له تكاليف مباشرة وغير مباشرة على البلد والمواطنين. لذلك فإننا نشدد على ضرورة الاستفادة من تجارب دول العالم ودول الخليج الناجحة وخبراتها في تنفيذ هذه المشاريع، حيث أن الوضع الحالي لا يقبل التهاون أمام أي هدر مالي غير مدروس قد ينتج من تأخيرها أو تنفيذها بصورة غير سليمة. والآن أترك المجال للسيد ستيف لانكستر لإدارة محاور هذه الندوة، والتي أتمنى من خلالها أن نوفق بتقديم إضافة ملموسة لبلدنا الحبيب الكويت. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a great honour and a pleasure to be invited by the Kuwait Economic Society to moderate this evening's event. very important topic, as we've just heard from the introduction. As the moderator, I have to go through a few of the normal housekeeping rules, and I should please advise you all, from a health and safety point of view, if there was a fire alarm whilst we're here this evening, then this is the first fire escape, this is the other fire escape, and that one in the back corner is also a fire escape. The room in the back there, the door at the back, is not possible to go outside. Also, can I please ask you to put your telephones on vibrate or silent, just so that it does not interrupt the speakers, if I can please. Thank you very much. So a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Steve Lancaster. I am a civil engineer. I have over 25 years experience in the construction industry, and I've spent about 20 years of my experience in the rail industry, mainly delivering rail projects. I've been fortunate enough to work on some of the big projects around the world, and I've spent quite a bit of my career in Southeast Asia, in Hong Kong and Taiwan. And I've been very fortunate to be in the Middle East for the last 8 years, working on projects both in the UAE, in Qatar, and in Saudi Arabia. So it's a great pleasure now to come here today and be involved in Q&A. The agenda for the evening, I'm going to give a short presentation around rail projects and the components that make up a rail project. We will have a brief on the status of the GCC rail. There's an introduction to the Etihad rail. And then if time allows, we are going to have a short break and take advantage of the good food of this hotel. And that will give you time to have a little break and refreshment. And then we will come back again for 2 more presentations. One will be around the rail program development strategies. And then we will hear an operator's view about how to plan for an integrated transport system. And we hope at the end of that, we will then have time for a debate and a question and answer session. So why are we here today? As we know, we're talking about the rail projects and the metro projects. And we need those projects because obviously a country, a city like Kuwait has demands on it as it grows. Those cities evolve over time, and it's important for the social and economic growth of the city. And of course, as cities grow, there's a tendency in the past to rely on the car, and roads and so on have been built for that purpose. So we now look towards public transport, and that's why we're here to talk about how we can implement integrated transport, public transport, in the form of rail and metro. But when we talk about metro and transport, we talk about moving people or goods from a point A to B. What defines a good journey for a person, or if we're going to move some goods from A to B? Time is important. We want to do it in a minimal time. It needs to be reliable. Cost is always a factor. And when you're moving people, it has to happen in a safe way. And to attract people to a public transport system, it needs to be comfortable. So a good passenger journey is defined by achieving all of these things. To achieve all of these things, we have to do a lot of careful planning. Talk a little bit now about what makes up a railway project. Railway projects are complex projects, more complex than we're perhaps used to when we're building, say, a highway or a road. The first thing we have to think about is land. Railway projects require a lot of land. You need land for the rail corridors, the stations, and we build facilities to maintain the railways, and they are usually depots. They need large areas of land. We have the structures, different types of bridges and viaducts. And if our railway goes underground, we have to build tunnels. There are the stations, many different types of stations. They are public spaces. They are quite complex buildings in themselves for the public. You have to worry about the structures for how to get onto your railway, and how to get into the station, and how to design those structures in the public realm. We look at specialist components like the track work. These are specialist contractors and systems used for track work, many different types. Same with the rolling stock. The rolling stock is often different sizes, for different purposes. There are many technical systems. I won't go into all of them, especially the railway systems. There are lots of different systems that make up a railway. Passenger information systems, the ticketing system. Ticketing systems are now used in modern cities on both the railways and the buses. They're all integrated. And security, we have to think about security. So the point here is there are many systems that make up a railway. Maintenance facilities, we have to remember those as well. Once you have a railway system, and all those things I just spoke about make up a railway system, whether it's freight or passenger, you need an operator. And then you need a maintainer. Railways need a lot of maintenance. When you're delivering a railway project, typically there are many organisations involved. This is just a generic image to show how normally a government is the owner who owns the railway. And pointing to the box at the bottom here, the government will normally try and build a railway through employing many different contractors, different types of contractors. And sometimes these can be all joined together in one consortium, or we employ the contractors under many different contracts. Often an owner will employ a project management consultant or a PMO. We have an organisation that you will see on all modern railways, which is an independent safety assessor. That's an important organisation that will ensure that the railway is safe to operate. So when you've built it, you have to make sure that it's safe to operate, including how it's been built, and also the operator is trained and qualified to operate the railway safely. The government will seek, normally, to go to either its own finance ministry or other finance institutions. And we'll have a regulator to oversee the laws in place to actually operate and form a railway company, and then actually to regulate the operations once we move into operations. And on the right hand side here you'll see we have the operator and maintainer. So the point here is there are many organisations, and this is just a typical chart. I've already said it, railways projects are complex. They involve many stakeholders. When you go up to linear project, it has many government stakeholders, private stakeholders, utility companies and so on. Normally railway projects are long. They take typically 5 to 7 years to construct. Because there are so many specialist components that I showed you earlier, there are many design interfaces, and all of these designers have to work with each other to make sure we come together with a completed system. Once you've started to construct, there are many construction interfaces, both inside the project and also with stakeholders outside of the project. I spoke earlier about the need to demonstrate safety. So as you're doing all of this, at the end of the day, before you can operate, you have to demonstrate that the railway is safe to operate. that requires a lot of specialist skills to make sure that happens, to demonstrate that. And big projects like this, happening in big cities, will impact the public. The public is a major stakeholder. So whenever you're delivering a project of this complexity, the public needs to be, public relations is a very important factor. This chart just shows very simply the length of time to build a railway. It's a very typical generic chart, like I said earlier, 5 to 7 years. But actually, that's just the start. Once you've built the railway, it's actually going to run for a long period, much longer than the 5 to 7 years. So we're looking maybe at 50 to 100 years operation for the railway. So any decision we make now, building and how we build the railway, is a decision that will stay with you for a long period of time. All of what I've just described, there are many different ways of delivering and procuring a railway. This just shows that there are different procurement methods. I can't go into that, we could be here all evening. But so I think we will cover some of the topics later in some of the other presentations. So with that, I would like to move to the next speaker. Just leave my glasses. So the next speaker is Ms. Nada Abdul-Aslam. Nada is a senior specialist and financial analyst at the Transport Department and the GCC Secretariat General. She's currently involved with a spectrum of projects, including the GCC Rail project, as well as other integrated projects in land transport and marine. She has a master's degree in economics, and she's a graduate from King Saud University. She's experienced as an analyst, and she's included a 5-year research analyst position at Riyadh Bank, and she's a member of the Saudi Economics Association. And with that, I'd like to pass you over to Nada. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to this conference, and thank you for attending. I'd like to thank the organizers who invited me and gave me the chance to participate in this event. I'm going to give a brief about one of the most important and strategic projects, not only in the GCC countries, but for the whole area, which is the GCC Railway project. As we can see on this map, the project will start from Kuwait. It will link, of course, the 6 member states. It will start from Kuwait all the way down in Saudi Arabia through the Dammam, and then it will link Kingdom of Bahrain through new proposed causeway to be built in vicinity with King Fahd Causeway, current King Fahd Causeway, and then it will link State of Qatar and continue the way to link with United Arab Emirates and end in Muscat in Oman. So, as we said, this project, this railway, will link all GCC member states. The estimated length of this main railway is around 2,200 kilometers. It is a single track with mixed-use passengers and freight transport. The total infrastructure capital cost estimate is around $15.5 billion US. That includes $4.2 billion US as cost for constructing the new causeway. All these figures are based on the feasibility study of the project, which was completed in 2009. The project is adopting the best international standards and practices. This map shows the proposed alignment for the new causeway that will link Bahrain with the main rail, the GCC railway. The feasibility study of this project has been completed, and the results are very promising. Actually, it's in the final stages of reviewing in both countries, and we hope we move to the next step. The main characteristics of this project is it will be a whole intermodal that link the national railway and transport networks. It will link also the major cities, ports, airports, industrial cities, and metro networks. So it's not only a project that will link the 6 member states through a single line, but actually to link the whole national railway networks in the whole GCC area. Of course, economically and financial, it is viable if each country implements the part of the project within its borders. Regarding the key benefits, of course, just for example, not limited to, such a huge project will create sustainable railway industry in the area. It will develop a GCC railway network of around 12,000 kilometers, and that includes the main line and the national railway network in the GCC area. It will create investment of around 250 billion US dollars, and that will create, of course, a significant number of jobs in the economy. If we see this huge project with all these investment opportunities, it will help to diversify the economies of the GCC area, which depend heavily on oil revenues. And as we all know, it will strengthen the economic and social integration in the GCC area. This project actually requires a structure and institutional setup, and the ministerial committees in the GCC are following up closely with the project implementation, which reports directly to the member state heads summit. The GCC member states have created vertically integrated railway companies to construct and operate the railways. For example, we have Etiḥad Rail in United Arab Emirates, we have Qatar Rail, Oman Rail, and in Saudi Arabia we have Saran SRO. They are focusing on institutional strengthening through training and capacity building for this new sector. Regarding the current status of this project, it is under implementation with different levels in each country, with